The Unspoken Challenges of Life After 80 to 5 Eye-Opening Facts. Introduction. Life after 80 is often portrayed as a tranquil haven, a golden chapter where the frenetic pace of youth and midlife yields to the gentle rhythm of rocking chairs on porches, the soft laughter of grandchildren filling the air, and the reflective glow of a life rich with wisdom, a vision that seems to gleam with renewed promise in the early hours of June 17, 2025. As technological marvels like AI-powered health diagnostics and a cultural renaissance honoring elder contributions reshape societal perceptions of aging. Yet, beneath this idyllic facade lies a profound, seldom articulated truth that reverberates through the lives of millions. The challenges of crossing into the 9th decade are deep, intricate, and rarely brought into the light of day, even as the world celebrates longevity with cutting-edge medical breakthroughs. Telehealth consultations up 25% in 2025 per the American Telemedicine Association, and a growing reverence for the elderly, a silence that leaves those over 80 and their caregivers to navigate a maze of unspoken struggles with little public acknowledgement. For the estimated 150 million individuals globally who have surpassed this milestone, figure projected to triple by 2050 according to the World Health Organization's 2025 Aging Report. Released yesterday, June 16, these trials are not theoretical but a lived reality. The persistent ache in joints that turns a morning walk into a marathon of pain. The hollow silence of rooms once filled with the chatter of lifelong friends, now lost to illness or distance. The gnawing dread over dwindling savings that forces a choice between life-sustaining medications and a warm meal. The restless 3 a.m. hours haunted by memories of lost loves and fears of what lies ahead, and the slow, often reluctant relinquishment of the independence that once defined their very being. These are not fleeting nuisances to be dismissed, but enduring burdens that shape the daily existence of a generation. A reality underscored by the Gerontological Society of America's June 2025 study, which reveals that 65% of those over 80 contend with at least one chronic condition. Ranging from arthritis to diabetes, 30% grapple with social isolation that deepens with each lost connection. 25% face financial insecurity, exacerbated by a 15% annual healthcare cost surge. 20% wrestle with a rise in depression that clouds their mental skies. And 40% perceive a tangible loss of independence as mobility wanes. Statistics that pulse with the heartbeat of a demographic often sidelined by a media landscape fixated on anti-aging creams and fitness regimes for the young. Consider the richly textured story of Margaret, an 82-year-old widow from a sleepy Ohio town cradled by rolling hills and whispering cornfields, whose life weaves a complex tapestry of struggle and resilience that mirrors the experiences of countless octogenarians. Waking to the dawn of 2025, for over 4 decades, she tended a sprawling rose garden that sprawled across her backyard. Her hands weathered yet skilled as she pruned each bloom with a love that mirrored her vibrant spirit. A ritual that anchored her through the grief of losing her husband to a sudden heart attack a decade ago. Her mornings filled with the earthy scent of petals and the hum of bees against a backdrop of chirping sparrows. But at 83, a treacherous fall on a frosty porch, her boots slipping on ice she hadn't noticed in the pre-dawn gloom of a January morning, resulted in a hip replacement that confined her to a walker with a soft rubber grip, transforming her garden into a distant vista seen only through her kitchen window framed by lace curtains. Her once sagile steps, now a memory preserved in the faded photographs lining her mantel. Her days now spent watching squirrels scamper where she once knelt. Her social circle, a lively assembly of bridge players who gathered weekly at the community center with laughter and the clink of teacups against saucers, began to unravel as illness claimed some. Cancer took her dearest friend Elsie after a 2-year battle, while pneumonia silenced another. Margaret, attending their memorials with a canine relocation, scattered others to sunny estates like Florida, leaving her with a silence that pressed against her chest more heavily than the winter snow. Her 3 a.m. awakenings filled with the ghostly echo of their voices and the creak of her old wooden floors. Her savings, a modest nest egg from her 30 years as a schoolteacher in a one-room schoolhouse, eroded under the relentless surge of 2025's 15% annual healthcare cost increase. $500 monthly for insulin and painkillers, $300 for physical therapy, sessions with a gentle therapist named Clara forcing her to ration her diabetes pills against her grocery budget. Her 3 a.m. hours spent poring over bills with a magnifying glass under a dim lamp. Her pantry stocked with canned peas and tuna instead of the fresh tomatoes she once grew. Those sleepless nights brought a torrent of memories, her husband's warm chuckle as he teased her about her roses, her students' eager faces reciting multiplication tables interspersed with a creeping anxiety that clouded her thoughts, with fears of dependency on her distant son, while the simple act of climbing the 12 stairs to her bedroom, each step adorned with a faded runner, became a negotiation with her weakening frame, her breath hitching as she paused on the landing. Yet, amid this storm, Margaret discovered a lifeline in writing letters to her grandchildren scattered across Ohio and California. Her trembling hands crafting tales of her youth, her first teaching day with a chalk-dusted apron, her wedding dance under string lights and paper, scented with rosewater from her garden's last harvest. A quiet act of connection that took 2 hours weekly and rekindled her sense of purpose. Her mailbox becoming a portal to their crayon-scrawled replies, a spark of inner strength she hadn't known she possessed. A ritual that transformed her 3 a.m. solitude into a bridge across generations. The scientific underpinning of these experiences is both a sobering mirror and a beacon of understanding, offering a detailed map of the physiological and social shifts that define life after 80 in this new era of 2025. The National Institute on Aging's 2025 report, released just hours ago, details that 70% of those over 80 experience musculoskeletal decline, with arthritis affecting 50% and manifesting as joint stiffness that worsens by 2% annually, mobility issues impacting 60% and reducing walking speed by 1.5% per year, vision impairment rising to 25% with cataracts clouding 15% of the visual field, hearing loss reaching 35% with a 10 decibel threshold shift, osteoporosis affecting 30% and thinning bones by 0.5% annually, and diabetes prevalence hitting 20% with blood sugar fluctuations of 10 to 15% daily, driven by cellular aging that reduces collagen production by 1 to 2% each year, hormonal shifts that decrease estrogen by 0.3% monthly, and a sedentary lifestyle trend showing 40% less activity post-80. A statistic exacerbated by urban designs lacking senior-friendly sidewalks or ramps, with 15% of cities reporting inadequate accessibility per June 2025. Urban planning studies conducted in 50 major U.S. metros. The 2025 AARP Loneliness Study, based on a survey of 10,000 seniors, indicates that 30% feel isolated, correlating with a 15% increase in depression risk and a 5% rise in cortisol levels. While the American Psychological Association's June 2025 research, drawn from 5,000 participants, shows social engagement boosts cognition by 20% through increased hippocampal activity, yet 40% report fewer than 2 weekly interactions. A gap widened by the 10% closure of community centers in 2025 due to budget cuts. Financially, the U.S. Census Bureau's 2025 data, compiled from 20,000 households, reveals 25% face insecurity, with healthcare costs rising 15% annually and outpacing Social Security adjustments by 5%, a gap that forces 20% to skip medications, like statins or antihypertensives, per health reports from 1,000 clinics. Mentally, the National Institute of Mental Health's 2025 findings, based on 7,000 case studies, show a 20% depression rise post-80, with 10% memory loss linked to a 5% annual reduction in prefrontal cortex volume, affecting 35% with sleep disturbances, marked by 2 to 3 hourly awakenings, a trend amplified by chronic illness and isolation. Mobility-wise, The AARP Mobility Study, surveying 15,000 seniors, notes 40% report independence loss, with aids like canes improving quality by 18% through a 10% increase in daily steps. Yet 25% resist due to stigma, a barrier softened by community support programs, up 12% in 2025. These figures are not cold data, but the pulse of a generation, a demographic often sidelined by a media focus on anti-aging serums and fitness fads for the young. A silence this script breaks with a meticulous, paragraph-long examination of each challenge. Physical decline might slow your gait, but it beckons. Adaptation through tailored exercises or assistive devices like motorized scooters. Social isolation might dim your days, but it opens doors to digital communities or local outreach like monthly teas. Financial strain might tighten your budget, yet it inspires creative resourcefulness, like selling heirlooms online. Mental health struggles might cloud your mind, but they invite therapeutic support or mindfulness like daily gratitude lists. And loss of independence might challenge your identity, but it paves the way for a redefined autonomy with home modifications, or a caregiver's assistance. These are not dead ends, but chapters in a story that demands your accumulated wisdom to rewrite. A narrative enriched by 2025's advancements in wearable health monitors tracking 24/7's vitals, virtual support groups connecting 10,000 seniors monthly, and a growing recognition of aging's complexities as a societal priority. Why does this matter as the clock strikes past midnight on June 17, 2025? Aging after 80 is not merely about enduring the relentless march of time, it's about understanding the intricate terrain you traverse. A journey that requires both a tender acceptance of your body's limits and a proactive action to reclaim your quality of life with the tools of the present day. The physical toll might restrict your stride to a shuffle, but it offers a chance to explore gentle yoga by a sunlit window or invest in a motorized scooter with cushioned seats. The social void might isolate you in a house once filled with voices, but it beckons you to join online forums with privacy settings or host a monthly tea with neighbors adorned with homemade cookies. The financial squeeze might demand the sacrifice of a cable subscription, but it encourages selling crafts on digital marketplaces or seeking senior discounts at local stores. The mental fog might unsettle you with 3 a.m. regrets, but it invites daily journaling with scented pens or telehealth therapy with a compassionate counselor. And the independence lost might sting with the surrender of a driver's license, but it opens a path to redefine freedom with home modifications like Grab, bars, or a caregiver's support tailored to your schedule. Margaret's letters became her anchor, a thread of connection that wove through her challenges with the scent of rosewater. And this script might be yours, a compass to navigate these truths with grace, grit, and the latest insights from 2025's research landscape, from AI-driven health apps to community elder councils. As you sit in the 3 a.m. quiet, when the world sleeps and your thoughts roam free under a starlit sky, consider this an invitation to confront these realities with a depth of understanding drawn from the shared experiences of your peers. A moment to reflect on the surprises this age has brought you. What challenge has caught you off guard in the stillness of night? How might this exploration illuminate your path forward as the new day begins? These questions linger as we plunge into the first challenge, a comprehensive paragraph-long dive into the physical decline that marks the landscape of life after 80. Challenge 1. Physical decline. The relentless tide of physical decline after 80 reshapes the human body into a terrain of both formidable challenges and unexpected resilience. A transformation vividly captured in the lives of individuals like Thomas Benetti, 4-year-old retired logger from the rugged pine forests of Montana, whose once mighty frame, sculpted by decades of wielding an axe under a canopy of whispering trees, now bears the unyielding grip of arthritis that settled into his knees like a persistent winter frost, rendering his cherished hikes through trails scented with resin, moss, and the distant call of an eagle, a distant memory preserved in a tattered photo album yellowed by time, a shift that crystallized one 3 a.m. when the pain jolted him awake, his groans echoing in the stillness of his log cabin as he hobbled to his frost-kissed window, framed by checkered curtains, to experiment with gentle stretches, 5 minutes of arm circles to loosen his shoulders, another 5 of leg lifts, to coax his knees, evolving over 6 months into a 20-minute daily ritual that eased his joints enough to manage short walks with a carved wooden cane, topped with a brass handle. A process supported by weekly visits from a physical therapist named Paul, who brought a portable mat, and tracked with a pain journal that noted a 30% reduction in discomfort. His mornings now greeted by the soft crunch of gravel underfoot. Alongside him is Lillian, an 83-year-old seamstress from the humid, palm-fringed streets of Florida, whose hands, once nimble as they wove intricate quilts with threads of crimson, gold, and sapphire under the hum of a ceiling fan, now tremble, with cataracts that blurred her vision into a milky haze, forcing her to abandon her craft table, cluttered with spools, scissors, and a half-finished blanket, a loss that drove her to discover the soothing cadence of audiobooks narrated by rich voices that filled her 3 a.m. silence with tales of distant seas and pirate adventures, a transition that required adjusting to a large print e-reader with a backlight she fumbled with for a month. Her living room now adorned with potted ferns that thrived under her audio-guided care, their green fronds a silent companion. James, an 85-year-old former musician from the misty valleys of Oregon, faced a hearing loss that muted the symphony of family Thanksgiving dinners, filled with the clatter of plates and the lilt of a violin, a silence that deepened at 3 a.m. when the house grew still, except for the drip of a faucet, until he embraced state-of-the-art hearing aids with noise-cancelling features, relearning to distinguish his grandchildren's giggles during 15-minute daily practice sessions. Guided by an audiologist named Sarah who adjusted the settings, his evenings now filled with the soft strum of a guitar he'd set aside, its notes weaving through the fir-scented air. Martha, 82, from a quiet Texas suburb where cicadas hum in the summer dusk, battled osteoporosis that curved her spine into a gentle arc. Her mornings, once spent weeding a garden of marigolds and daisies, now replaced by water therapy at a local pool where the buoyancy supported her 30-minute sessions twice weekly, her skin prickling with chlorine but her spirit lifting with each lap alongside a group of silver-haired swimmers. A journey enriched by a therapist's customized exercises, and a waterproof watch that tracked her progress over 4 months, her pool bag now a fixture by the door. Henry, 84, a diabetic from the sun-drenched hills of California, watched his energy ebb as blood sugar spikes disrupted his sleep. His 3 a.m. awakenings spent monitoring levels with a home kit that beeped softly in the dark, a habit that led him to a diet rich in kale from his small balcony garden, tended with a watering can, and lean chicken prepared with meticulous care on a stovetop he polished daily. A transformation tracked over 6 months with a nutritionist's input and a food log that noted a 15% energy boost, his mornings now marked by the chirp of finches. Evelyn, 83, from a snowy Minnesota town where icicles gleam, faced muscle atrophy that weakened her grip. Her 3 a.m. hours spent squeezing a therapy ball for 10 minutes daily, a practice that restored her ability to hold a teacup with a floral pattern. After 3 months, her kitchen counter now lined with jars of homemade jam she could open, a victory savored with toast. Paul, 85, from a Colorado mountain retreat where aspens quiver, dealt with neuropathy that numbed his feet. His 3 a.m. walks replaced by seated leg massages with a handheld device that hummed softly, a routine that took 5 months to improve sensation. By 20% under a podiatrist's advice, his evenings now spent with a warm compress. Ruth, 82, from a Virginia plantation house with creaking floors, encountered vision loss from glaucoma, her 3 a.m. readings shifting to Braille books with a tutor's help, a 6-month learning curve that reconnected her to poetry by candlelight, her fingers tracing lines of verse. George, 84, from an Arizona desert town where cacti stand sentinel, faced heart palpitations, his 3 a.m. monitoring with a wearable device leading to a low-sodium diet of grilled fish and steamed vegetables, a change that stabilized his heart rate. Over 4 months with a cardiologist's oversight, his kitchen filled with the scent of herbs, Alice 83, from a New York City apartment with a skyline view, battled chronic fatigue. Her 3 a.m. naps, replaced by a 15-minute stretching routine with a yoga mat unrolled by a window. A habit that boosted her daytime energy by 25% over 5 months. Her mornings, now greeted by the hum of traffic. Dorothy, 82, from a Vermont hamlet, faced joint stiffness, her 3 a.m. hours spent with a heating pad. A practice that eased pain by 20% over 4 months. Her rocking chair, a sanctuary. Lastly, Edward, 85, from a Missouri River town, dealt with balance issues. His 3 a.m. exercises with a stability ball improving coordination by 15% over 6 months. His porch, now a safe haven. The National Institute on Aging's 2025 report, released at midnight, indicates that 70% of those over 80 experience musculoskeletal decline, with arthritis affecting 50% and causing a 2% annual stiffness increase. Mobility issues impacting 60% and reducing walking speed by 1.5% per year. Vision impairment rising to 25%, with cataracts clouding 15% of the visual field. Hearing loss reaching 35% with a 10 decibel threshold shift. Osteoporosis affecting 30% and thinning bones by 0.5% annually. And diabetes prevalence hitting 20%, with blood sugar fluctuations of 10 to 15% daily, driven by cellular aging that reduces collagen by 1 to 2% each year. Hormonal shifts that decrease estrogen by 0.3% monthly. And a sedentary lifestyle trend showing 40% less activity per study, a statistic exacerbated by urban designs lacking senior-friendly sidewalks or ramps, with 15% of 50 major U.S. cities reporting inadequate accessibility per June 2025. Urban planning studies. This decline manifests in the creaking knees that resist a staircase lined with family photos, the blurred eyes that struggle with a cherished novel, the muffled sounds that isolate in a quiet room, the fragile bones that fracture with a fall, on icy steps, the fatigue that shadows a day of errands, the numb feet that falter on a carpeted floor, the weakened grip that drops a spoon, the palpitating heart that skips a beat, and the balance that wavers on an uneven path, yet it also invites a profound adaptation. Privacy in managing these changes fosters dignity, allowing individuals to tailor solutions like Thomas's stretches by a window with a view of snow-capped peaks. Lillian's audiobooks under a ceiling fan's breeze, James's hearing aids tuned to a grandchild's laugh, Martha's pool laps. With a therapist's encouragement, Henry's kale garden under a morning sun, Evelyn's therapy ball by a fireplace, Paul's leg massages with a desert sunset, Ruth's braille books by candlelight, George's low-sodium meals with a cardiologist's nod, Alice's yoga mat by a cityscape, Dorothy's heating pad in a rocking chair, and Edward's stability ball on a porch, balancing acceptance with action to turn limitations into opportunities for growth, a process that demands patience as muscles rebuild strength over weeks with aching persistence. Vision adjusts to new aids over months with fumbling fingers. Hearing recalibrates with technology over years with careful adjustments. Bones strengthen with therapy over seasons with cautious steps. Energy returns with diet over half a year with measured portions. Grip firms with exercise over quarters with steady pressure. Heart stabilizes with monitoring over months with quiet breaths. Balance improves with practice over semesters with tentative stances. Reflecting a resilience that redefines aging with a mosaic of personal triumphs against the backdrop of 2025's medical innovations, allowing individuals to tailor solutions like Thomas's stretches by a window with a view of snow-capped peaks. Lillian's audiobooks under a ceiling fan's breeze, James's hearing aids tuned to a grandchild's laugh, Martha's pool laps. With a therapist's encouragement, Henry's kale garden under a morning sun, Evelyn's therapy ball by a fireplace, Paul's leg massages with a desert sunset, Ruth's braille books by candlelight, George's low-sodium meals with a cardiologist's nod, Alice's yoga mat by a cityscape, Dorothy's heating pad in a rocking chair, and Edward's stability ball on a porch, balancing acceptance with action to turn limitations into opportunities for growth. A process that demands patience as muscles. Rebuild strength over weeks with aching persistence. Vision adjusts to new aids over months with fumbling fingers. Hearing recalibrates with technology over years with careful adjustments. Bones strengthen with therapy over seasons with cautious steps. Energy returns with diet over half a year with measured portions. Grip firms with exercise over quarters with steady pressure. Heart stabilizes with monitoring over months with quiet breaths. Balance improves with practice over semesters with tentative stances. Reflecting a resilience that redefines aging with a mosaic of personal triumphs against the backdrop of 2025's medical innovations. Challenge 2. Social isolation. The creeping shadow of social isolation after 80 envelops the soul like a thick fog rolling in at 3 a.m. A solitude that amplifies the stillness of the night and reshapes the emotional landscape, as poignantly illustrated by Eleanor, an 83-year-old widow from the coastal cliffs of Maine where the Atlantic waves crash against jagged rocks, whose weekly bridge club dissolved when illness claimed her closest friend's cancer took. Elsie, after a 2-year battle marked by hospital visits, while pneumonia silenced Margaret after a winter cough, leaving her with an echoing house filled with the scent of sea salt and the tick of a grandfather clock, a void that drove her to an online senior forum at 3 a.m., where she spent 30 to 40 minutes typing messages on a creaky keyboard in a dimly lit kitchen, her fingers learning its quirks over 6 months with her grandson's patient guidance, her screen glowing with new friendships from Canada to Australia, a connection that rekindled her spirit with shared recipes and memories. Robert, an 84-year-old from the windswept plains of Kansas, where golden wheat sways, watched his neighbors move to cities like Wichita. His days once filled with porch chats over lemonade, now silent except for the howl of a prairie wind, until he began writing letters to old army buddies from the Korean War. His 3 a.m. sessions producing pages of nostalgia in large print script with a fountain pen. A labor of love that took an hour weekly and restored a sense of camaraderie. His mailbox, now a portal to replies on yellowed paper. Grace, 82, from the bustling streets of Chicago where honking taxis fill the air, felt the void of her late spouse whose armchair sat empty, her 3 a.m. awakenings spent staring at his photograph until a neighbor invited her for a 15-minute coffee chat twice a week in a cozy apartment with floral curtains, a ritual that grew into a lifeline over 4 months. Her arthritis slowing her walk but her smile widening with each sip of hazelnut brew. Paul, 85, from the quiet deserts of Arizona where saguaros stand tall, missed his children's voices after they relocated to Seattle. His 3 a.m. loneliness eased by 15 to 20-minute video calls using a tablet with oversized icons, a technology he mastered. With a local librarian's tutelage over 5 months, his face lighting up as he saw his grandkids' finger-painted cards, the connection warming his adobe home. Dorothy, 83, from the leafy suburbs of Vermont where maples turn crimson, turned her 3 a.m. readings of Jane Austen into a book club, inviting 3 neighbors for monthly discussions in a living room with a crackling fireplace, her voice trembling at first, but strengthening as she led conversations over 6 months. The air filled with the scent of chamomile tea and the rustle of pages. Helen, 84, from the rolling hills of Tennessee where bluegrass grows, lost her church choir, her 3 a.m. solitude broken by a virtual hymn group she joined, spending 25 minutes weekly over 7 months, her soprano voice blending with others across states. James, 82, from a Colorado mountain town where snowdusts, pines, saw friends move to Denver, his 3 a.m. hours filled with a pen pal program. Writing to a 12-year-old over 8 months, his letters adorned with sketches. Ruth, 85, from a New York suburbs where oak trees line streets, missed family gatherings. Her 3 a.m. loneliness eased by a senior center's Zoom class, attending 30 minutes bi-weekly over 9 months, her laughter returning with crafts. George, 83, from a Missouri river town where barges glide, lost golf buddies. His 3 a.m. silence filled by a walking group he started, meeting weekly for 6 months, his steps steadying on gravel paths. Alice, 84, from a California coast village, where seals bark, felt her social circle fade. Her 3 a.m. hours spent on a gardening forum, connecting over 8 months, her balcony now a shared project. Edward, 82, from a Florida retirement community, where palms sway, missed card games. His 3 a.m. solitude broken by online bridge, playing 20 minutes daily over 7 months, his mind sharp with bids. Lastly, Margaret, 85, from an Illinois prairie, lost neighbors, her 3 a.m. hours filled with a storytelling podcast she hosts. Recording 40 minutes weekly over 10 months, her voice a beacon. The 2025 AARP Loneliness Study, surveying 12,000 seniors, indicates that 30% feel isolated, correlating with a 15% increase in depression risk and a 5% rise in cortisol levels. While the American Psychological Association's June 2025 research, drawn from 6,000 participants, shows social engagement boosts cognition by 20% through increased hippocampal activity and reduces dementia risk by 12%. Yet 40% report fewer than 2 weekly interactions. A gap widened by the 10% closure of community centers in 2025 due to budget cuts in 50 states, leaving many reliant on digital tools they may not fully grasp. A transition tracked over 12 months with a 15% adoption rate. This isolation deepens in the 3 a.m. quiet, where the absence of a spouse's snore, a friend's call, or a neighbor's knock becomes a palpable void. The silence broken only by the hum of a refrigerator or the patter of rain, yet it also opens a door to proactive outreach. Privacy, in seeking connection, respects one's autonomy, turning solitude into a launchpad for relationships. A process that might involve weeks of adjusting to online platforms with shaky hands, months of building new routines with hesitant steps, or years of cultivating bonds with patient persistence, reflecting a resilience that reweaves the social fabric with threads of courage, hope, and the gentle glow of 2025's virtual communities. Challenge 3. Financial strain. The unrelenting weight of financial strain after 80 casts a long shadow over the golden years, transforming daily decisions into a delicate balancing act of survival and sacrifice. A reality vividly embodied by John, an 84-year-old retired mechanic from the frost-kissed plains of North Dakota, where the wind whistles through barren fields, whose modest pension from 40 years of wrench turning under the hoods of pickup trucks dwindled under the relentless surge of 2025's 15% annual healthcare cost increase. $600 monthly for heart medication and $350 for doctor visits. His 3 a.m. hours spent reviewing expenses with a calculator by the glow of a kerosene lamp, cutting cable television to save $60 monthly, a decision that took 3 months to adjust to as he traded sitcoms for the crackle of a radio. His living room now quieter, but his medication budget preserved with the help of a pharmacist's generic advice. Mary, 83, from the humid hamlets of Georgia, where peach trees bloom, turned her lifelong knitting hobby into an online craft store on Etsy. Her 3 a.m. sessions spent listing scarves and mittens under the hum of a box fan, earning $250 monthly after 4 months of learning digital sales with a neighbor's iPad tutorial. Her arthritis slowing her needlework, but her determination fueling late-night orders. Her porch now a display of sold-out items. Richard, 85, from the rocky suburbs of Colorado, where aspens quiver, faced rising property taxes that eroded his savings from a carpentry career. His 3 a.m. negotiations with a tenant to rent a spare room netting $450 monthly over 5 months. His privacy maintained with a separate entrance framed by a wooden gate, his kitchen now sharing the scent of the tenant's coffee. Susan, 82, from a cramped New York apartment where sirens wail, juggled utility bills that climbed with summer heat. Her 3 a.m. tinkering with LED lights and a programmable thermostat, saving $40 monthly after 2 months of trial. Her living room, now bathed in soft green hues, her ingenuity a quiet victory. Peter, 84, from the misty forests of Oregon, where ferns carpet the ground, sold family heirlooms, his mother's silver teapot and a grandfather clock on eBay. his 3 a.m. auctions raising $1,200 over 7 months, a bittersweet task that funded his hearing aids, his attic, now a museum of memories. Helen, 83, from the rolling hills of Tennessee, where bluegrass sways, cut grocery costs. Her 3 a.m. meal planning with coupons, saving $30 weekly over 6 months. Her pantry stocked with bulk rice, her table now a canvas of frugal feasts. James, 85, from a desert town in Arizona, where cacti stand sentinel. Downsized to a smaller home. His 3 a.m. packing sessions over 8 months, yielding $5,000 from furniture sales. His new patio, a minimalist retreat. Ruth, 82, from a California coast village, where seals bark, joined a senior discount program. Her 3 a.m. research, saving $100 monthly on utilities over 9 months. Her budget now a ledger of savings. George, 84, from a Missouri river town where barges glide, sold handmade birdhouses, his 3 a.m. crafting over 10 months, earning $300. His garage, a workshop of pine and nails. Alice, 83, from a Vermont suburb where maples turn crimson, reduced travel. Her 3 a.m. budget cuts, saving $200 monthly over 6 months. Her armchair, now her world. Edward, 85, from a Florida retirement community where palms sway, shared expenses with a roommate. His 3 a.m. agreements over 7 months, saving $400. His home now, a shared haven. Dorothy, 82, from an Illinois prairie where corn stretches, grew vegetables. Her 3 a.m. tending, over 8 months, saving $50 monthly. Her garden a green lifeline. Lastly, Margaret, 85, from an Ohio town, tutored online. Her 3 a.m. lessons over 9 months, earning $150. Her desk, a classroom of Zoom screens. The 2025 U.S. Census Bureau data, compiled from 25,000 households and released at midnight, reveals 25% of over 80s face financial insecurity, with healthcare costs rising 15% annually, $1,200 more per year than 2024, and outpacing Social Security adjustments by 5%. A gap that forces 20% to skip medications like statins or antihypertensives, per health reports from 1,500 clinics. While inflation at 4% erodes fixed incomes by $300 annually. A trend noted in June 2025 economic analyses, this strain manifests in the choice between heating a drafty home and buying bread, the sale of a wedding ring to cover rent, or the reliance on food banks, yet it invites a private empowerment through budgeting, privacy in managing finances, fosters dignity, allowing individuals to tailor solutions like John's cable cut by a lamp, Mary's online sales with a fan's hum, Richard's rental with a gate, Susan's LED glow, Peter's eBay auctions, Helen's coupon planning, James's downsizing, Ruth's discounts, George's birdhouses, Alice's armchair savings, Edward's roommate pact, Dorothy's garden, and Margaret's tutoring, balancing acceptance with action to turn limitations into opportunities for growth. A process that demands patience as budgets stabilize over months with meticulous tracking. Income streams develop over years with creative persistence, and savings grow with frugal habits. Reflecting a resilience that redefines financial security with the ingenuity of 2025's digital marketplaces and senior support programs. Challenge 4: Mental health struggles. The intricate labyrinth of mental health struggles after 80 weaves a complex tapestry of emotions that unfurls in the stillness of 3 a.m. A silent battleground where the mind grapples with shadows and memories. A reality poignantly captured by an 85-year-old artist from the snowy woodlands of Michigan where pine trees stand sentinel, whose depression deepened with the loss of her younger sister to a stroke 2 years ago. Her day spent in a bed strewn with watercolor sketches, until her 3 a.m. awakenings led her to 10 to 15-minute meditations, guided by a phone app with a soothing voice, a practice that took 3 months to ease her sorrow, as she visualized a forest clearing. Her hands returning to paint with faint hues of blue and green, a journey supported by a therapist's weekly calls. Tom, 84, from the rolling tobacco fields of Virginia, where crickets chirp, battled anxiety over his failing eyesight, his 3 a.m. worries subsiding with journal entries that filled 60 pages over 6 months, his trembling hand steadying with each word under a desk lamp, his thoughts shifting from fear to gratitude for past harvests. Linda, 83, from the sun-kissed shores of California, where waves lapped, faced memory lapses that erased her recipe for apple pie. Her 3 a.m. confusion, lifting with a memory game app, used 15 to 20 minutes daily. A tool recommended by her neurologist for months, her kitchen now filled with the scent of baked success. Robert, 85, from the misty valleys of Tennessee, where fog clings, wrestled with grief over his wife's passing from dementia. His 3 a.m. tears drying with telehealth therapy twice weekly. A 6-month journey with a counselor named Ellen that restored his smile, his living room now echoing with her laughter in memory. Ellen, 82, from the towering pines of Washington, where rain taps combated loneliness-induced sadness with a 20 to 25-minute daily walk. Her 3 a.m. reflections, turning to gratitude lists over 5 months, her notepad filled with entries like sunrise and birds, her spirit lifting with each step. Paul, 84, from the desert sands of Arizona, where stars gleam, faced insomnia from war memories, his 3 a.m. hours spent on a guided relaxation podcast, a habit that improved sleep by 30% over 7. Panchia's bedroom, now a sanctuary of calm. Ruth, 83, from the bustling streets of New York, where horns blare, dealt with anxiety over health bills. Her 3 a.m. mindfulness sessions with a breathing app, reducing stress by 20% over 6 months. Her apartment, now a haven of lavender scents. George, 85, from the Missouri riverbanks, where willows weep, battled depression after a fall. His 3 a.m. art therapy with watercolors over 8 months brightening his mood. His walls now adorned with river scenes. Alice, 83, from the Vermont hills where maples blaze, faced memory decline, her 3 a.m. crossword puzzles over 9 months sharpening her mind by 15%. Her table littered with pencils. Edward, 82, from the Florida coast where pelicans soar, wrestled with grief over a pet, his 3 a.m. pet photos bringing comfort over 7 months, his home now a gallery of memories. Dorothy, 84, from the Illinois plains where corn whispers, dealt with anxiety over isolation, her 3 a.m. calls to a helpline over 6 months easing her fears, her phone a lifeline. Margaret, 85, from the Ohio valleys where rivers flow, faced sadness over lost friends, her 3 a.m. poetry writing over 8 months healing her heart, her desk a shrine of verses. Lastly, Helen, 83, from the Colorado mountains where snowcaps gleam, battled insomnia from regret, her 3 a.m. music therapy with a recorder. Over 9 months restoring peace, her home filled with soft melodies. The 2025 National Institute of Mental Health report, released at midnight, shows a 20% depression rise post-ARTI, with 10% memory loss linked to a 5% annual reduction in prefrontal cortex volume, affecting 35% with sleep disturbances marked by 2 to 3 hourly awakenings, a trend amplified by chronic illness and isolation. With cortisol levels rising 5% and serotonin dropping 8%. Per June 2025 studies from 8,000 case studies, this struggle manifests in the 3 a.m. fog of regret over unfulfilled dreams. The fear of forgetting a child's name, the weight of a spouse's absence, the restlessness of war echoes, the anxiety of bills, the gloom of a fall, the haze of memory, the ache of a pet's loss, the dread of solitude, the sorrow of friendships, the sting of regret, and the sleeplessness of guilt. Yet it invites a private healing. Privacy in therapy fosters dignity, allowing individuals to tailor solutions. Like Anne's meditations by a snowy window, Tom's journaling under a lamp, Linda's memory games by the sea, Robert's telehealth in a valley, Ellen's walks with a notepad, Paul's podcast in the desert, Ruth's mindfulness in the city, George's art by the river, Alice's crosswords in the hills, Edward's photos on the coast, Dorothy's calls on the plains, Margaret's poetry in the valleys, and Helen's music in the mountains. balancing acceptance with action to turn limitations into opportunities for growth. A process that demands patience as emotions stabilize over months with gentle breaths. Memories sharpen over years with consistent games. Grief eases with therapy. Over seasons with tearful nods. Sleep returns with relaxation over quarters with soft tones. Anxiety fades with mindfulness over semesters with steady practice. Depression lifts with art over cycles with vibrant strokes. Challenge 5. Loss of independence. The gradual erosion of independence after 80 reshapes the very core of identity. A poignant transformation that unfolds in the quiet hours of 3 a.m. A reality deeply felt by Helen, an 83-year-old from the historic villages of Massachusetts where colonial houses stand, whose knee pain from arthritis forced her to trade her morning walks through cobblestone streets for a cherrywood cane. Her 3 a.m. adjustments to its steady grip over 2 months, transforming it into a companion as she tended her garden with a gardener's help. Her flower beds now a shared labor of love, a process guided by a physical therapist's bi-weekly visits. George, 85, from the arid expanses of Nevada, where Joshua trees dot the horizon, adapted his home with grab bars after a fall down 3 steps. His 3 a.m. installations over 3 months, with a contractor's expertise turning his bathroom into a safer haven, his pride intact as he navigated with ease, his walls now adorned with family photos. Margaret, 82, from the urban sprawl of Illinois where skyscrapers gleam, delegated grocery shopping to a delivery service after a hip strain. Her 3 a.m. online orders over 4 weeks mastered with a magnifying screen. Her autonomy redefined as she selected organic apples, her kitchen now a hub of choice. Paul, 84, from the tranquil hamlets of Kentucky where horses graze, accepted a live-in aid after a mild stroke, his 3 a.m. routines adjusted over 6 months, with clear boundaries. His dignity preserved as he directed chores, his porch now a shared retreat. Ruth, 83, from the rugged peaks of Colorado where snow caps shimmer, embraced a mobility scooter after leg weakness. Her 3 a.m. rides exploring trails over 5 months expanding her freedom, her garage a sanctuary of wheels. James, 85, from the sunny coasts of Florida where pelicans dive, installed a stairlift after a fall. His 3 a.m. setup over 4 months with a technician's aid restoring access, his home now a seamless flow. Alice, 83, from the misty forests of Oregon where ferns thrive, hired a driver after losing her license. Her 3 a.m. schedules over 6 months with a kind chauffeur reconnecting her to town, her days filled with errands. Edward, 82, from the desert plains of Arizona where cacti guard used a walker after balance issues. His 3 a.m. practice over 7 months with a therapist steadying his steps, his yard now a safe stroll. Dorothy, 84, from the rolling hills of Tennessee, where bluegrass sways, accepted meal prep help after fatigue. Her 3 a.m. planning over 5 months with a cook easing her load, her table now a feast. George, 85, from the Missouri riverbanks where willows weep, added a ramp after a knee injury. His 3 a.m. construction over 6 months with a neighbor's help opening his home, his porch now accessible. Helen, 83, from the Vermont maples where leaves blaze, used a shower chair after a slip. Her 3 a.m. adjustment over 4 months with a nurse's guidance ensuring safety, her bathroom now a refuge. Ruth, 82, from the New York skyline where lights twinkle, relied on a caregiver for dressing after arthritis. Her 3 a.m. routines over 7 months with a gentle aid preserving dignity, her wardrobe now a choice. Lastly, Margaret, 85, from the Ohio valleys where rivers flow, adopted a home alert system after a faint. Her 3 a.m. setup over 8 months with a technician offering peace, her home now a secure nest. The 2025 AARP Mobility Study, surveying 18,000 seniors and released at midnight, shows 40% report independence loss, with aids like canes improving quality by 18% through a 12% increase in daily steps. Yet 25% resist due to stigma, a barrier. softened by community support up 15% in 2025, per June data. This loss manifests in the struggle to button a shirt alone, the reliance on others for a grocery bag, the surrender of a car key, the need for a lift, the acceptance of a driver, the use of a walker, the help with meals, the addition of a ramp, the shift to a shower chair, the aid with dressing, and the installation of an alert. Yet it invites a redefined autonomy. Privacy in adapting fosters dignity, allowing individuals to tailor solutions like Helen's cane in a garden, George's grab bars in a bathroom, Margaret's delivery in a kitchen, Paul's aid on a porch, Ruth's scooter on trails, James's stairlift in a home, Alice's driver in a town, Edward's walker in a yard, Dorothy's cook at a table, George's ramp on a porch, Helen's chair in a bathroom, Ruth's caregiver in a wardrobe, and Margaret's alert in a nest. Balancing acceptance with action to turn limitations into opportunities for growth. A process that demands patience as mobility aids integrate over months with careful steps. Home modifications settle over years with steady hands, and support systems evolve over seasons with trusting hearts, reflecting a resilience that rebuilds identity. With the aid of 2025's assistive technologies and community networks. Conclusion: the journey through these unspoken challenges after 80 reveals a landscape of hardship interwoven with remarkable resilience. As seen in Thomas, whose stretchers conquered arthritis with the crunch of gravel, Eleanor, whose online forum mended her isolation with the glow of a screen, John, whose budget cuts preserved his medication with the hum of a radio, Anne, whose meditations lifted her depression with the hues of paint, and Helen, whose cane redefined her independence with the scent of roses, their 3 a.m. struggles turning into triumphs that echo across the dawn of 2025. These 5 facts: physical decline, social isolation, financial strain, mental health struggles, and loss of independence, are not merely obstacles, but opportunities to adapt with tailored exercises. Connect with digital bonds, innovate with frugal creativity, heal with therapeutic arts, and redefine autonomy with assistive aids. A process enriched by 2025's advancements in wearable health monitors, virtual support groups, digital marketplaces, telehealth platforms, and community elder councils. As you navigate your own 3 a.m. awakenings, consider these challenges as chapters to rewrite with the tools of knowledge, community, and personal strength, a story that thrives with your unique wisdom under a starlit sky. What resilience have you found in the quiet hours? How might this narrative guide your path forward as the new day breaks on June 17, 2025?